The mission today is to sharpen your swords and get you ready for battle. It's time to fine-tune your craft and make you the best in what you do. The mission is to equip you to help anyone purchase what they need. We'll share the best advice from the best in their industry. You'll be listening to a conversation you wish you had with the mentors you wish you had. Take what makes sense to you and makes you better in your career. You guys, Bruce Lee said it best. Absorb what is useful and discard what is not.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Commission Mission. My name is Eric Gerace.
I'm Micah Henderson. Today I have Nick Dettrick with Lumio. He is the VP of Operations for the East Coast. Nick, thanks for coming on. How you doing?
Yes, thank you guys for having me, 100%.
And your title, mouthful, it's huge. It sounds huge. How does somebody, in their 30s get such a prestigious title? Can you walk me through getting started, the training that you had, and how that led you to where you're at?
Yeah, Micah, it's really being at the right place at the right time. Yeah. You know what I mean? To kind of rewind and go back to the beginning, it all started after I graduated UF, right? We got a phone call from the director of sales from Vivint Solar, right? And we got up there and we started selling, right? We started knocking doors, did all that good stuff. And about 8 months in, I realized that maybe the door-to-door deal was something I could do, but just something that didn't really fit me. So went to my leadership and said, I want to give it a shot in the operations. You know what I mean? So went over to operations and then dominated, right? So as far as that's concerned, I probably did 18 months in the operations as a electrical apprentice. Then next thing you know, one thing led to another, and I moved back to Florida, met Holly, did some bartending, stuff like that. And then a guy that I originally lived with in Maryland when I first met, he started his own solar company, and that's when we jumped on. And that solar company grew from 1 cruise to 5 crews. We grew from the Panhandle to the east coast of Florida.
So let me stop you real quick. So the entire time I've ever known you, you have been in solar to some degree.
To some degree, okay. And it was on and off, and that was kind of like a, super condensed version of an extremely long and intricate, detailed story. And we can go back and dissect that, tell me which door you want to walk through. But long story short, I got here by knowing the right people, meeting the right people as soon as we moved to Maryland, and just staying in contact and maintaining those connections along the way. Yeah.
I mean, maintaining connections. I don't know the last job that I got just because I walked in and put a random resume in. It's always because you know somebody. But
that's right.
But real quick, I want to touch on. I mean, speaking of what door do I want to walk through? Let's talk about which door I want to knock on. Okay.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to that, door to door is tough.
That's right.
And it's something that was much more common in generations past. And you don't see that a lot anymore. You do see that with the solar biz. And when anybody ever knocks on my door, I say, hey, I got a guy. If ever I go down this route, I'm obligated to go with my buddy here.
Yeah.
But I know how tough it is. Good luck out there.
That's right.
You want a bottle of water?
Yes, exactly.
It's hot out there, guys.
Keep it going.
And so that technique has been, it differentiates solar when it comes to sales.
It does.
And it's worked.
That's right. It has. And so when I moved to Maryland and initially started the, door-to-door sales, we were self-genning, right? A lot of companies have different strategies. It's a setter and then an energy consultant. Mm-hmm. The setter, of course, just sets the appointment for the more experienced, energy consultant to come and close a deal. But in the situation that, I came into first, it was just self-genning. So you knocked them, you closed them, right? So having experienced salespeople really coming from the alarm side, because that's where a lot of the solar consultants came from, was alarms.
Really?
Yes. And I didn't have that experience, and came in, was doing all right. Then they started recruiting some alarms guys, and these guys are knocking down like 12 deals a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just killing it. 15. Setting records, just absolutely dominating. But the techniques that, I learned from these just sales aficionados was,
It seems like solar sales for an alarm guy would be such an easier path because they're selling fear when they're selling an alarm. And
that's right.
With solar, you're just selling advantages. And,
that's exactly right.
And so I could see how.
Yeah. And when they came up, as I came to Maryland and started my training and stuff, it was some of these simple things that I would have never thought of, When you knock on the door, you stand sideways. You know what I mean?
And what does that do for you?
If an old woman answers the door.
Oh, it's not as threatening.
And a large strapping man like myself is standing, when she opens up, she's going to be, off put a little bit.
If she opens up, she's probably not even going to open up. She's going to look through that peephole and
that's right.
See a dark outline.
If she opens up.
Yeah.
You got 30 seconds, and as you drill, bring them in, get your message out, and get them engaged, you start taking off your shoes and looking. It's like let's sit down. Let's
just make it comfortable.
Make it comfortable, of course. You're not kicking the door in.
Yeah,
but
and it's not fear anymore.
That's right.
It's hope and advantages and
right.
making your life easier. Which if you're doing that for somebody, they should be more relaxed with you instead of making you tense, saying, "Well, if this and this happens, you want to not die." So here's an alarm.
That's right.
So.
Like when I did copier sales, a big concern was the total cost of ownership, right? You buy a copier and then it keeps costing you money down the road. And what's that total cost of ownership going to be? Whereas in solar, that's the advantage. The longer you have it, the more you use it, the more you save.
Exactly. So, that's exactly right.
And then another thing that I see is the software that you guys have. Yeah. Does it use Google Earth?
Yeah. So Yes, I think all on a basis, but what it really pulls from is a government-owned database called PV Watts. It's actually the NREL and the National Renewables Laboratories, and it basically pulls data about all the different characteristics or details that goes into a solar proposal. Sun hours, geographical location. No worries.
Is it furball?
Do y'all have a Jamie in here? Can you look up what NREL stands for? But
we need one. We need one.
But yeah, the software that we're able to use and generate solar proposals at the blink of an eye is, it's come a long way. It really has.
So when I've gone through that process in the past, it really brings it. Pun intended, really brings it home when you see your home.
That's right.
And you see how the panels can be configured and right. How much it can get you. So that has to be a tremendous tool.
And what we're using now is drones, and it's called Scanifly. And the drone takes a 3D image and flies over the house, I think 100 times. And our site surveyors draw a map. The drone follows that map, and it produces like a 3D rendering within 99.9%.
So you wouldn't even need the satellite image anymore if you're going to use
our own.
Right.
Yeah, we create our own, and then we verify it using the satellite imagery, the sun hours, the azimuth, all that different stuff.
Man, and just for everybody out there, door to door is a tactic that's not exclusive to the solar industry. If you're about that life, I remember when I first started in life insurance. Yeah. I have family and friends, but they're not gonna buy something from me just because I'm me. It has to actually be something that they need. So good luck. So I had to get started from scratch, and I remember doing that. I remember when. I was doing employee benefits primarily, picking a side of the street, just going down it, not walking in, introducing myself. So whatever you're selling, it's not
copier sales. You're doing it business to business here, but you
drag that copier down the road and push it in for a demo.
And in real estate,
you're about that life.
It's a great tactic to use in real estate to door knock your neighborhood, because now you become the realtor for that neighborhood.
Yeah,
the more people that know you, and know what you do.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, I'm not going and knocking on someone trying to get a listing or hey, you need to sell your house or buy something today, but just introducing yourself and making yourself known in that neighborhood.
You're going to come across the right person at the right time. And a referral strategy that I used, that somebody told me, it was a clover technique. Okay, so once you've completed a piece of business in a house, so this only really works in an in-home setting, is so you've already completed the sale, you've already shown the value, people are already on board with what you're selling. It's saying, is there any neighbors, around that you think I could just, explain what I do? Hey, that house, or that house, and people typically know one of those neighbors to the cardinal directions.
That's right.
And they'll say, yeah, and then you borrow that trust just for a second. Say, hey, I'm just going to knock on the door, introduce myself real quick. I'm not going to say that you said that, they were going to buy, but just that you may be interested in hearing about the work that we've done together.
That's right.
And that helped.
And that kind of ties into the solar game, because when those customers are getting installed, you're knocking the customers' doors and saying,
yeah,
you see what John's doing over here? Let me tell you about it. You know what I mean?
Keeping up with the Joneses.
That's right.
Everyone else is doing this.
Yes, they are.
Are you going to be cutting edge? Are you going to be, Ethel on the corner, whose house is falling apart. So going from the sales part, and we want to talk about operations. And how you work in tandem with the sales folks. The sales folks, we talk primarily about sales here, but there's a whole background team that makes the sales happen once
the deal is closed.
Once the deal is closed and all the paperwork's done.
If operations doesn't perform, you're not going to have very many sales.
Nobody gets paid.
You're going to have some pissed off clients for saying, and they're going to find someone else who has the operation. So how do you not compete but dominate when it comes to operations?
So I'm going to rewind back to when I started in Florida installing for basically Atlantic Energy, because I worked for an EPC, an electrical contractor that installed the deals that Atlantic Energy closed, right? And during that time, our software was a little limited. The beginning of the solar salesman, journey with Atlantic Energy was somewhat rocky.
Yeah.
So I would show up to a deal and the customer would be like, where are these panels going? I was like, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They had all these questions, what's up with my loan? I was like, well, let's get your sales rep on the phone.
Yeah.
So it's like, when I showed up, I knew what went into this deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I knew that some sales rep had to knock 100 doors, 50 doors, 20 doors if
Whatever
they're
the
good.
ratio is, yeah.
Exactly. And once that happened, I was able to get to the home and in most instances resell these customers.
Wow. And so after a couple of times of that happening, you knowing it's going to be rocky, but I think the important thing to get out of it is that it didn't shake you. It didn't deter you.
I've already been there, and reselling the fact that reconfirm, reassure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No paperwork was done. I was just like,
and
you got
and
this.
sort of congratulate them.
Yeah. You're like, this, you want this.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Yeah.
I promise you.
And kind of reaffirm the decision that they've made.
That's right. My parents got it. Look at it.
Yeah.
Look at my parents' system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They love it.
And
look at my mom's bill.
And
look at my mom's bill. If you had that in your back pocket, that's a powerful tool too.
Right.
And one of the things I'm picking up on too that's really important, especially for new people, is you're selling something that you fully believe in.
That's exactly right.
That you're passionate about, that lights you up to talk about. And it's really important that's the things that you focus on.
That's exactly right.
That's how you succeed, is doing something that you love and believe in. And
that's where I found my groove. I felt like I abandoned the sales journey at one point to get to operations because I worked on a farm. I wanted to work with my hands, but I just felt that was my calling. And I ended up getting able to do both and exercise both, support the sales.
Yeah.
I'm the water boy. You know what I mean? I just accepted that. But
such a crucial role is the support and everything. But you moved from the install, right?
So you
haven't, and you haven't been on a roof in a little while because of that.
I got on a roof about 3 months ago with Eduardo, and I almost died. I almost had heat exhaustion. But I got off the roof. So going back to, the ongoing sales support the day of install, we ended up growing to 5 crews in the Panhandle primarily. And then Atlantic Key Energy separated from the electrical contractor. We got licensed and brought everything in-house, okay? So when that happened, we basically brought over some crews and then had some pre-existing crews down south. So I was over about 5, 6, 7 crews. And then it grew to 8 and then 13, and that's, at about 5 or 6, I got off the roof into the office, was working with logistics and stuff like that. And that's something else I wanted to kind of touch on, is the fact that we did 150 installs this week, but we have, I think, 2,000 square feet of warehouse space.
Wow.
So it's all drop shipping. So really my experience in logistics and procurement, was something along the way that really helped me understand and tie everything together as well, and really support the sales.
Well, and because your sales and expertise were being not wasted, but on a roof, but you could do a lot more from the office.
Absolutely.
And looking at what everyone else is doing.
That's correct.
So everyone out there, I want you to support your operations. When that crew is helping you out, whatever your crew looks like, if it's an office lady, if it is a back office support, either in your office or somewhere in the Midwest, you better send them a Christmas card and a birthday card. Send the office lady some flowers, because they can make your life a lot easier or a lot harder.
Highland Finance, helping you prepare for life. IRS takes your money, stock market risks your money, and inflation reduces the buying power. At Highland Finance, we believe you should feel confident in your future. Our proven track record helps our clients prepare for life. Call 850-359-5989.
We've spoken with guests about starting and growing,
scaling
a group. But when it comes to, you already have that group and you're managing people, how do you find that groove in that sense when you're managing these crews to keep on producing and everything going smooth?
Exactly. So we've been lucky to be able to put the right people in the right places. You know what I mean? And if I have any advice or tips to the trade, that's implement from the ground up. You want to get the input from 0 feet elevation if you're at 35,000, because you see what's happening up here, but on the ground it's happening a lot quicker. You want to start from the ground up and implement, get feedback from the field, and give everybody a voice. Let them know what we're after, give them the defining objective. And then if they know, they feel included.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be more prompt to give you feedback to help you, like, this is what we're after, boys. This is where we need to get more efficient. If you do that, they're going to have more buy-in. They're going to feel included, and they're going to be able to
be much more motivated.
Help the team execute.
Yeah. So, sort of promote from within.
Promote from within, for sure.
Then anybody going to the next level, they've been there and done that, and they understand the people who are under them, as far as that sort of hierarchical pyramid structure. They understand where that next level has been. And they're able to relate. And then the managers on the other way around are actually going to listen to what they have to say, because they can relate.
That's right. And one thing that I've said before is, like, we're not a pyramid. There's a football sled in front of us, and we're all hitting it.
Yeah.
Right side's got to hit it just like the left side, or else we're spinning in circles. We're headed that way.
And then there's more of an us mentality. That's instead of us down here in sales, or us over here in installation, and them up there in management. It's us.
That's right.
And that has to be amazing for morale. Right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's that's how I would want to be managed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And my mentors, Frank, who I met in Maryland, who eventually ended up starting, the one EPC before Atlantic Key Energy came thing, and Lumio bought us. He's been super important with tying all that together and keeping everybody fired up,
And so with these different company purchases, you've kind of stuck with Frank?
Yeah, so Frank, as soon as I moved to Maryland, he was there in corporate housing, kind of took me under his wing, We went through a lot of the pitches on the doors, and he did a lot of coaching. Had an extensive background in solar. So left Maryland, came back here Frank calls me up. He's like, man, we can do this. He's like, we can start a solar company. It's like, you let me know, man, I'm there. And he called me. He's like, we just bought one, and we met this sales group.
So you stuck with Frank?
Yeah, we stuck with Frank.
And Frank, I'm sure, kind of. What are you doing, Ricky Bobby?
I don't know what to do.
Well, what are you doing, Ricky Bobby? I know what you're doing. And so he called on talented people that he knew.
Yes.
A lot of them that he probably took under his wing and brought up, and he probably trained in a way that works well with his business ethic.
Right.
And brought you down and got started. I'm sure that goes to the business cohesiveness.
Yeah, and really Frank knew sales more, and I knew operations more, right? And knowing the finance companies, knowing everything that the sales rep needs to know in the house, what panels do we have available, you know. Frank was able to put me kind of like over the nuts and bolts in the operations, and we continue to implement and, you know, get better and better. And being, again, that resource for the sales teams to be able to ask questions and understand what was going on, you know?
Yeah, because no matter what you sell or the size or makeup of your business, it may seem like you're a one-man band, but you're not. Even if you're selling someone else's product, there's support at that home office.
For sure.
You're never a one-man band, and you know, the better the sales support or operations, the better that they are on top of things or they know their stuff.
Right.
The more you can produce.
Correct.
And also, too, just note the advantages of a mentor, having someone that's walked that mile, that's already gone there. So, like, I love the saying is, to bake a world-class cake, you don't have to spend 30 years to become a world-class chef. You just need a world-class chef's recipe, and then follow that recipe to a T, right? And that's how you shortcut the hours and hours it takes to be a master is using mentors. And that's, you know, the reason for the show.
That's cool you say that, because, like, looking at it, we have definitely cooked up our own recipe, and it took a lot of trial and error. Like, we almost burned down the kitchen. You know, like,
well, where would you be right now, say, without a Frank?
Oh God, without a Frank,
still knocking doors.
Probably still on a roof somewhere.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You know, that's a good question. Yeah. There's no telling. I don't know. You know, that just blows my mind even trying to think about that, because.
So, and there is that, but then there was a lot of you and your drive, and
that's right. And really just feedback, you know, like really feedback and staying 3 steps ahead. You know, grew up on a family farm, so efficiency is everything. You know, if you're not 3 steps ahead, you're behind. Mm-hmm. So being able to look ahead for logistics plans, customers, are they ready? You know, what's going on? Relaying that back, getting more systems involved, processes, people, and just really just starting to layer it, right?
You know, and not that this ever happens, but like when something goes wrong, how do you handle that?
So, yeah, I mean, we handle it. We handle it a lot better now. But, you know, back in the day, we didn't understand the importance of feedback. And now we do. And so when something does happen, I'm starting to take a role of, like, chief feedback officer. You know? Like,
that's your title next week.
But that's a good question.
But it's so important, because what happens with a lot of new or struggling entrepreneurs is when they get that negativity, that bad feedback, they do usually one of two things. One, they argue and fight against it and try and prove that they're right. Yeah. And the other thing they do is they just ignore it.
Yeah, and exactly.
Neither one of those two are going to help you.
No, neither one of those are sustainable. You know what I mean? So we have a good team, and whenever those situations do arise, which is every day, you know, we attack it, and we have nothing but the solution in mind.
So you guys are still, you know, loose and fluid enough to make those adjustments on the fly on a daily basis.
Yep. And it's important, like in my role and, you know, senior leadership around me, to not put a Band-Aid on that problem.
I love that you said that you had the solution.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
what happens with a lot of salespeople, I think, is like when you love what you're doing, when you're going for it, and something goes up, you are solution minded, and it's okay to have those uncomfortable conversations because you have the solution.
That's right.
What happens, I think, a lot of times is the negativity gets in people's head, and they start finding problems for every solution.
Oh yeah.
Instead of offering the solution. So
That's right.
It's something, it's about mindset. It's about remembering
That's right.
what you love and are passionate about, and how to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to dwell on it or you want to fix it?
Yep.
And your company culture and is loose enough where you're able to get to the bottom of it quickly.
sure.
And I'm just thinking, the opposite of that may be an older company with more rigid ideals that it's harder to.
Like Highland Finance.
Yeah, because that old fogey running that thing, yeah, he's set in his ways. But yeah, so you're able to make that change.
And one thing I want to mention is like we feel a little spoiled in the fact that we've had like professional training. This company called the Table Group, who has worked with like executives from Southwest Airlines, a lot of big companies, and they come in and build more cohesive teams through trust, healthy conflict, commitment, accountability, and then results. And so we've had extensive training in like how to approach our peers, how to approach salespeople. Oh man!
See, back when I started
with that
out,
healthy conflict,
it was Dale Carnegie
to get results.
That was, I'm sure that did wonders for the culture of your company.
It did. It helped us tremendously, and we've invested in this practice. And with that buy-in has been paramount to our success, because.
And add that on top of the way that you hire from within, and everybody's can kind of relate with everybody else. Now, when the team that you had been with, you mentioned different companies purchasing different companies.
Correct.
Did that mesh very well with everyone? The new culture
integrating. Yeah, the new cultures. Initially, we had a table group meeting with all the Nick and Franks from all the other companies, right?
Yeah.
And that was super cool. And, they go based off the Myers-Briggs test, so personality traits, right? And then you understand what triggers that person, what drives them, their frustrations, their geniuses, and stuff like that. So then we began to integrate and meet. And one pretty cool thing I thought that all the Nicks from all the other companies all grew up on a farm.
What?
And all had the same personality rating.
That is wild. And so you get that work ethic, working on that farm, and everybody's 3 steps ahead. And so I bet that did help the mesh.
Yeah, and it just helps you, like if you work on a farm, you have the upper hand. Not just saying if you didn't work on a farm, you're trash.
I grew up in California surfing, and I told people if you could surf in Panama City, you could surf anywhere because the break here is crazy.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like working on a farm. If you can do that,
That's
do
right.
that successfully.
That's right. And so when we had that, meeting with all the, VPs and SVPs of all the different companies, we were able to use those table group methods and be able to, form a more cohesive strategy. So the integration, every merger is a little messy. You get a lot of bumps and bruises down the road, but, we're sticking together. And
you keep growing.
Yeah, we keep growing. We keep implementing. And, we sent 2 crews out to Texas. Ty Spencer.
Buddy.
And, they killed it. And we're helping the Texas company because essentially they bought a Florida company, a Texas company, and a California company, and then a Pacific Northwest company. So those 4 companies became Lumia.
Man,
that's amazing.
And everybody's meshing really well, working with each other
as best we can.
All the Nicks and all the Franks are in communication, and you've learned a lot about each other's personalities, which if you didn't could make you bump heads.
Yeah, and I had my wife take it.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
That might be a thing. Briggs,
Myers-Briggs,
okay.
yeah, Myers-Briggs.
There's also the DISC too. I've done with EXP, which is there's a DISC, and depending on where you fall in there, it's very similar to
absolutely.
But Myers-Briggs is a little more thorough.
Yeah,
it just brings awareness to
who you're dealing with,
yeah, and how to deal with them.
and how to deal with them. Yep. Exactly,
personality
it's a roadmap.
tests.
Because if I can make one little change, where if I don't make the change, every time I talk to you, you're like,
exactly,
oh, God. But if I make that one little change, you're like,
exactly.
It completely changes the relationship with your customers, with your coworkers.
That's right. And so in operations, when you need to go to your permitting department or engineering department, you're selling them on your idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because your operations don't mean you ain't selling something.
I mean, because selling, you're convincing somebody of something. If you're going to look at it from a high aerial
and how you talk to an engineer is different than how you talk to your accountant.
Exactly.
They don't want all the fluff.
They don't. Omar wants it just like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? This is what we need and why we need it. This is what's going to help us.
And then,
got it.
And you guys got in your groove and be a lot more productive. Because of this stuff. Well, Nick, how do our viewers get a hold of you? How do anybody watching or listening,
So
someone wants solar?
Yeah, right. So Lumio.com is it's a website that you can go to, and you can go to, request a quote. And once you type in your information, it's going to be triggered based off anywhere in the country and route you to the local
local Nick.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Everybody, you better get a hold of your local Nick and value him. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today and giving us a perspective from a different angle, from the operations angle that is so important and has so far been unsung here on the show. So, Nick, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
Hope
Nick.
to be back.
Awesome, man. Yeah, definitely.
Appreciate it.
Bye. Nick just makes you nervous.
Remodel on our house.
He's like, oh man. Yeah. He looked right at me.
So Nick, what's gonna happen with this is you can just sit tight right there, and they're gonna do a highlight with just them. So
okay.
You're not on the camera, you're not on the mic, so you can just.
Cool. Sounds good.
You let me know when you're recording. Everybody, you really got to think about your team that stands behind you, that you're not a one-man band, and in life in general, but especially in business, you cannot expect to do everything yourself. When your operations or even office staff, anybody who helps you accomplish what you accomplish, focus on that company culture and how they want to be interacted with. Nick had a great point. Everything's really sales. Everything is convincing somebody of something. And if you know their personality, maybe you can do a personality test, maybe you can't. If you can, maybe you want to. But if you know the person that you're dealing with, take advantage of that and communicate with them the way that they want to be communicated with. Help everything run smoothly.
And the importance of mentors, finding that expert that is where you want to be, and taking that shortcut to that, making that world-class cake is priceless. And so definitely loved the fact that he shared so much about that and how Frank helped him out. It's invaluable because you don't know where you'd be today without that.
Oh man, I'd be managing a Walmart somewhere, miserable. But absolutely, make sure you have a great company culture. If you can't, promote and hire from within to make sure everybody knows every perspective. It only makes sense that.
I love the analogy that everybody's pushing the football.
Sled together.
This is not going in circles.
This is not a pyramid where up is looking down, down is looking up. We're all on the same page, trying to accomplish the same end. And that has to be a winning company culture, and Nick and his business success has only proved that. So everybody, thanks for coming out and sitting with us and listening with us today. I'll see you next time for some more good gold nuggets.
Yeah, be sure to tune in next week. Thank you.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of The Commission Mission. I hope you got a lot out of it. We need you guys to like, follow, subscribe, whatever that action is for the platform that you're watching it on, and please leave a review. That's a great way of giving us a compliment.
And if you're listening to this show and you're interested in working with a great team in either the financial industry or real estate, Mike and I have opportunities available for people to join our team. You can find us at livingthatcommissionlife.com and go to the Join Us tab.
Highland Finance, helping you prepare for life. The profit your business brings in should go to you, not accidents, injuries, and hurricanes. Do a policy review on your general liability and workers' comp today. Our proven track record helps our clients prepare for life. Call 850-359-5989. Highland Finance.